Happy New Year, Brunswick County, and welcome to Brunswick Now. I'm your host, Jim McCallum. Today we'll ring in the new year with some special guests from Brunswick County who will share their stories and what they do. First, we'll welcome Mark McKeithen, Executive Director of Arbor Landing at Ocean Isle, and then we'll speak with Captain Mike White. He's the Bootstraps and Project Redirect Program Coordinator at Brunswick Academy. And finally, we'll speak with Joe Malinowski, a retired ultra-marathoner who lives right here in Brunswick County. So stay with us for the next half hour as we bring you Brunswick Now.
Welcome to Brunswick Now, ATMC TV, Channel 3, bringing you the best of Brunswick.
My guest is Mark McKeithen. Mark is the Executive Director of Arbor Landing at Ocean Isle. Mark, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Jim. I'm glad to be here.
Thanks. Mark, tell us a little bit about Arbor Landing at Ocean Isle.
Absolutely. Arbor Landing is a senior living retirement community, actually newly constructed about 15 months ago. We're over in the Highway 179 Ocean Isle Beach area near the airport. And we're actually, kind of our motto is for all of our senior residents kind of to deliver exceptional service with warm southern hospitality to really make sure every resident feels at home.
That's a great start.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Now, do you have a parent company that you work with and for?
We do. Arbor Landing is owned by a company out of Kernersville, North Carolina, a company called Ridge Care. And Ridge Care actually owns 10 senior living communities throughout the state, kind of almost from the coast through the mountains, with many of our communities in the Winston-Salem area, since that's our headquarter area. And Ridge Care is a great company to work for. The owners of the company have been in the healthcare / senior living industry for 15 or 20 plus years each. So our ownership and management group at our home office is very dedicated to this industry and have pretty much made it a lifelong affair.
Excellent, excellent. Tell us about the amenities at your facility.
Absolutely. Our amenities are really almost too numerous to mention, but some of the great things that Arbor Landing offers to all of our residents are, of course, food. 3 restaurant-style meals prepared each day, so every resident has access to 3 meals daily. We also have a great social program, which is one of the most important things for seniors, to make sure that they stay active and social, keep their brain busy, and keep their time busy. And we have a full-time social director who does a great job at designing programs inside the building, all kinds of activities, bingo and arts and crafts and singing and groups coming in to play the piano and entertain us, as well as design outside outings. We go out into the community. We've gone to Alabama Theater. We've also gone out for lunch and dinner locally in the area. So all that's a part of being a resident there, as well as some other neat things. Weekly housekeeping is included for every one of our residents. We provide local transportation to doctor's appointments for our residents who no longer drive. So that's very important. And typically as a senior, that's a big part of your weekly routine or doctor's appointments, unfortunately.
Mark, we didn't talk about this prior to the program, but you have different levels of care. Could you tell us about those? Yeah,
we do. Actually, Arbor Landing is really licensed by the state as an independent living community. So what that means is really the residents that move into our community are for the most part independent in nature. They probably have been living alone or could live alone. But for some of our residents, so some of our residents are completely independent. They still drive. They may go out shopping, etc.
Sure.
But some of our residents have moved to Arbor Landing specifically because we have a services program. And basically that services program is made up and individually tailored to each resident. And it allows us to take a resident who needs some very minor help with daily activities of living. Maybe they need med reminders, maybe they need bathing assistance, it's not safe to bathe any longer maybe, maybe they need some wellness checks. So some of our residents move in Arbor Landing specifically because we can offer that help on a daily basis, right from our own staff in-house.
Good. All this is very informative. What are some of the reasons that a person might want to move into Arbor Landing?
Several reasons, but I think probably the 3 main ones are probably social, security, and safety.
Good.
So what I mean by social is many of our residents that move in or are going to be moving in maybe have lived alone, maybe they do or do not have family close by, maybe they've been alone for several years and they just don't have the social aspect involved in life any longer. So coming into Arbor Landing, into one community under one roof with neighbors next door, all types of social activities going on daily, great meals provided, that really helps the social part of function. Sure. From the safety standpoint, some of our residents, again, maybe if they lived alone, maybe they didn't have neighbors close by or family close by. Living alone is kind of tough. You don't ever have anybody to check on you possibly, and so now you're under one roof with a neighborhood, and each resident wears an emergency pendant necklace.
My guest today is Captain Mike White. Captain White has lived a remarkable life. He is a motivational speaker. He's an educator. He's a coach. He's also a minister. And we're really glad to have him here today to talk about his work with the youth here in Brunswick County. Captain White, we're glad to have you.
Good morning, sir. Thank you for having me here. I'm honored.
The 10 minutes that we have won't permit me to ask you about the very interesting life that you've led, but let's talk about your work in the Brunswick County school system. Tell us generally what you do.
It's a great job, Jim. What we do at the Brunswick County Academy, I work a program called Bootstraps. And Bootstraps was originated by one of our former employees, Miss Kathy Owens. Now she's a principal at Bolivia Elementary School.
I see.
And we realized that kids was getting suspended from school, and they come back, and the teacher has to start teaching over. So she came with a program called Bootstraps, and it's been so effective at keeping students in school and holding them accountable for their wrongs. Now, on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, we do Bootstraps at Brunswick County Academy, and we take students from the 6th grade to the 12th grade from all over the county. Now on our Tuesdays and Thursdays, we do a program that our assistant superintendent, Mr. Grimes, came up with called Project Redirect. And that's the same thing, kids from the 6th to 12th grade, we bring them in, we do physical training, community service, academics, and it's a very disciplined program. It's strict, but great.
First, let me clarify that you're located at the Brunswick Academy.
Brunswick County Academy, yes.
And we'll kind of break these two programs down a little bit. Tell us about the Monday, Wednesday, Friday program. I think I heard you say they're from the 6th through the 12th grade.
Yes, sir.
And you get them all day.
All day.
Okay. Tell us the reasons that they're there and what you do with them during those days.
Okay. The reason these students are here, they commit suspendable offenses in their school. Okay. And we don't want to keep sending them home to go to the mall and play video games and just hang out at home. Sure. So when they come to our school, when the parents bring them for Bootstrap, now on Bootstrap days, the parents bring the student in at 8 o'clock in the morning, which gives me more time to keep the students from 8 o'clock until 3:20. Now, when those students stay with me all day, it's a lot of ground we cover. Physical training for about an hour and 40 minutes. Yes, and then we do our community service, which we clean the buses, pick up trash on the grounds.
Good.
And then we teach them table manners. The table manners of sitting up straight, put the napkin in your lap, how to hold your fork and spoon, how to chew these things that students should know, but we just reminded them how to do it. And also in the afternoons, we do academics. Now on and Bootstraps is really, I believe, is a little more intense than Project Redirect because we have more time with the student. But in Project Redirect, the students are bussed in from their schools. And with high school start a little later, the kids get there about 9:45, and that means I only have about 3.5, 4 hours with the students. But we try to accomplish what we do, though. We combine them and make it work. And when the students leave in the afternoon, Mr. Jim, these guys are so sore, but they have learned so much about giving back.
Excellent.
About being held accountable.
Excellent.
My whole goal in the school, and Miss Head and Miss Robertson and Miss Smith, our goal is this: to teach a child how to stand and be counted, and not lay down and be counted out because they made a mistake. And it works out great.
Terrific. My guest today is Joe Malinowski. Joe is a native of Michigan, spent most of his career in Northern Virginia, retired here to Brunswick County, and is a resident of Winding River and a good friend and acquaintance of mine. I've asked Joe to be with us today because we have thousands of runners here on the coast. We have runners that run a mile a day, 2 or 3 or 4. We have long-distance runners, but we probably have very few ultra-marathon runners. And Joe is one of those rare individuals who has spent the last 20 or more years running very, very long-distance runs. Joe, thanks for being with us today.
Thank you, Jim.
Joe, tell us first what a marathon is, and then in a second or two we'll get into what we call the ultra marathon.
Okay. The marathon is the marathon distance of 26.2 miles. And that has been part of the running boom that started in the early 70s from Frank Shorter and Bill Rogers. Frank Shorter being, I believe, was the first American who gold medaled in the marathon. And due to all that notoriety, marathons started popping up all over the United States and as well as the world. The Boston Marathon being the most popular one here in the States, but you have to qualify to get in. So other marathons all throughout the United States started popping up where individuals from running clubs or just the person who's interested in running can actually register.
And of course, we have marathons close by. You probably know of a few of those.
Yes, I understand there's one in Wilmington that's fairly new. There's one in Charlotte. And of course, all the bordering states. For instance, in Virginia, I just finished the Marine Corps Marathon this past October.
Right.
And that was my 30th consecutive Marine Corps Marathon.
How about that? So how many marathons have you run during these years?
Well, my first marathon was when I turned 30. That was a gut check after I got out of my 20s. And since then, I've run 78 marathons.
Wow. That's impressive. Okay, we'll move on to what we call the ultra marathon. And I think it has various distances, but give us the range of an ultra marathon and tell us a little bit about it.
Okay. The ultra marathon for the purist is 50 miles and beyond. But actually, an ultra marathon is anything beyond the marathon distance of 26.2. So due to that, there are races of 50K in length up to 100K in length and 100 miles. And there's also a couple out there that are in excess of 100 miles. The one that first comes to mind is that I'd been involved with is the Badwater 135-mile race in Death Valley.
I know you well enough to know that you're quite a well-balanced fellow and that you have other interests other than just running.
Yes.
And I'm just wondering how much of your time or how obsessed one would get with ultra-marathon running.
Well, I just retired in October, so I believe I'll probably start introducing a bit more time running just to stay in shape as I get older. But I normally do about 4 to 6 miles a day in addition to my gym work. And then if there is an upcoming race, like for instance in February I'm running the Myrtle Beach Marathon, we'll start ramping up our mileage up to maybe 15, 20 miles. I've started running actually on Holden Beach.
Good. Thanks for joining us today on Brunswick Now. I hope you've enjoyed this month's interviews as much as I have. If you have any questions about today's show or have topics you'd like to see featured on Brunswick Now, give us a call at 755-1770. Thanks again for joining us. Be sure to catch us next month right here on ATMC TV.